How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And this week's Q&A, like every other video, if you want a chance at one of your questions being answered, make sure you drop a comment down below and I'll try to answer that question either in next week's video or in that comment itself, or make a dedicated video towards that question. Just a quick announcement, I am going away for a couple weeks, so I'm not sure if where I'm gonna be. I'm gonna have service to be able to upload the Q&A videos. I have some preloaded videos for the Wednesday videos, so those will be available. As far as local service there, I'm not sure of the quality, so I'm gonna try to have the Q&A video still on Mondays. Obviously, it'll be in a different setting, location. But you know, if I could and have the service, then I'm going to try and make those videos for you guys. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this week's the first question. And so this person dropped me a comment and said that he's been going to this shop for, I believe he said 12 years or so. So obviously that person trusts the shop he's working with. But this time around, there was an issue with this caliper boot being torn, and they told them that the car was unsafe to drive, and they really pushed and made it urgent that he get it fixed that day. I believe he even said that they wouldn't let him take the vehicle without having the calipers replaced. So two things could happen. Obviously, if the calipers are seized at that point, then you're not going to be able to push the piston back in, and you just won't fit the new pads on there. So that would make it an undrivable condition. If the boot is torn but not leaking, then you could drive it as long as the piston goes in. Now, obviously, if they want to compress the piston or pistons in and the caliper started to leak out because there was some rust that formed because of the boot being compromised, then that would warrant a situation where they wouldn't let you drive out of there, even if only one was leaking, but the other one was also torn on the other side. Then that means that there's a chance that as you go use the brakes in a piston at that position might tear the seal with some normal usage. So I will add to that if the seal is torn 9 out of 10 times, it's because they probably didn't take the air out of the seal last time they compressed the piston, and most likely the piston caught the seal and that's what tore it. Sometimes as cars get older, they do deteriorate and obviously crack, so I don't want to blame that on them. But yeah, there could be situations where it becomes a drivability issue and they're not going to let you leave. Or if they do let you leave, in my case, I would make sure it's written all over the repair order and it's addressed everywhere and the customer signs it. So like that, I'm covered, the shop's covered, that the customer knew that this was potentially an issue and could obviously be life-threatening, and that everyone is covered at that point. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, the following question is, how do a modern enthusiast Hondas compare to the competition? And this person specifically talked about the SI, but I'm going to talk about a couple different cars. So I think Honda, back in the 90s, 2000s, had an edge over everybody as far as the cars just being pushed a little bit more, being fun to drive. But as of lately, they've been very conservative on the sporty side. As an enthusiast that would modify the car or drive it to, push it to limits. Obviously, there's competitors for the same price range in the competitor bracket that makes more power, or sometimes a little bit more power for a little bit more money, or even sometimes more power for less money. A perfect example is like the Elantra, and that's honestly, it's a Hyundai, but it's a great car for the power and what they offer. At the end of the day, in my opinion, it's still a Hyundai, but they have great warranty and obviously a lot of power. The car is affordable, so there's a lot of win in that situation. I still think the Acura 2.0T is one of the best, if not the best, cars for against his competitors in that aspect. And obviously it makes power real easily. The SI, not so much. And then we have the Type R. Honestly, the Type R, hands down, the best in its class, in my personal opinion. Obviously, people are going to have different opinions, but yeah, that car is just great. The only downside, in my opinion, that the Type R has is traction issues, and that only gets amplified as you turn up the power. So that's that. As far as on the Acura side, obviously the NSX is overpriced for what it is, but I feel like it's the only car that kind of is in that bracket of its own. It's like a weird car to own or to have, but it's a phenomenal car, and I would love to own one someday, honestly. And again, you could get something quicker for a lot less money, but still I feel like it's very unique. You don't see a lot of them, so that, you know, kind of puts it on a different level in my opinion. And then we have the TLX Type S and the Integra Type S. I would put it with the Civic Type R. As far as in the TLX Type S, personally, I'm going to be a little biased, obviously, but I think it's the best looking car in this class. It offers a lot of features at its basically only trim that is offered versus the competitors. We do know that it is heavier than the competitors, and you know, that is a little bit underpowered versus the competitors. So again, that's kind of like the edge where Honda kind of stepped off the gas pedal a little bit, where they used to be innovators. Now they're kind of like playing catch up all the time. So, you know, you got to really think about what you want in a car. When I buy a car, I want it to be obviously fun, reliable, and be able to make some power. We're not there yet with the TLX Type S, but it is fun, it is reliable. Hopefully we can find some horsepower in the near future. But if it's a car to own, I think the German cars are out of the question. They become very affordable, very unaffordable very quickly as far as maintenance. And then, you know, you have the Koreans and stuff, which, I mean, they're not bad. Again, great warranties and stuff like that. But you really, you know, you got to pick your poison. I think they offer a great bargain for everything you offer in that package and for the price point. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so the next question is, how reliable are the 7th gen Accords? So that is the 03 to the 07 model years. Now they both have their issues like anything else. I think it's one of the best Accords made. I think the best Accord made, in my opinion, is the 9th gen, best looking, you know, best powertrain. I know the CVT is a little iffy for some of you guys, but I owned one personally, and honestly, I loved it, and the CVT didn't bother me at all. But getting back to the 7th gen Accord, the V6 had a lot of transmission issues, a lot of oil leaks, time belt tensioner failures, motor mounts, I mean, you name it, compliance bushings, ball joints. So there was a lot of stuff that failed, but if you stand on top of the maintenance, you know, they are generally good cars. The 4 cylinders even more so. The transmissions were a lot more reliable than on the V6s, so that's a plus. And if you change your oil, you don't have to worry about a timing belt, timing chain tensioners, or timing chain stretching, or anything of that nature. So if you're in the market for one, I would probably steer away from the V6s at this point, and I try to pick up the 2.4 4-cylinder. I think if you find one that was well maintained, he has, you know, the seller has maintenance records, and kind of on a lower mileage, I think you could buy that car with confidence. Obviously, take somebody that's that knows what they're looking for. There's a couple different things. They're big oil leakers, but usually it's on the front side of the engine, and they can be addressed very easily. And for a couple $100, you could probably fix all those oil leaks. So that is a positive. And once again, if the oil was changed and maintained properly, then you won't have any timing chain stretching issues or anything of that nature. So V6, I would probably stay away from it at this point. Chances are that trans is either bad or on the way out. The 4-cylinder, the transmissions were a lot healthier, and they seem to take a lot more abuse even when well not maintained properly. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so another question from the same person on the 8th gen Civics, and this is 06 to 2011. And again, I think these are probably, I'm gonna say, the best Civics made, in my opinion. They only had one real major issue. They had a whole bunch of recalls when it came out, but that was all, you know, obviously free stuff that was fixed by Honda. And even as of late, they had an airbag recall, again, covered by Honda, so nothing comes out of pocket for you. Their big issue was their engine blocks cracking, and Honda put out like some crazy warranty extension. I forget if it was like 10 or 15 years or something like that. But I ended up doing a lot of them. I probably did a good 20 or 30 blocks. And again, all of them were covered. Even after the warranty extension expired, Honda still bit the bullet, and they were covering blocks. So towards the end, they got a little bit picky. They made us take pictures of the cracks with VIN numbers and RO numbers and stuff like that, because I think people were trying to cheat the system and replace blocks on cars that probably didn't need them. So that's a big no-no. Obviously, if you get caught doing that, that's grounds for dismissal, probably you and your superiors. But anyways, getting back to the car, relatively reliable. A lot of common issues were compliance bushings, broken passenger mounts. There was sometimes, again, the cracked blocks, AC compressor relay sticking. That's all fairly affordable stuff to repair. Towards the end, some timing chain tensioner covers and power steering pumps, but no big deals. The only deal breaker would be the engine block. But even if you needed a used engine at this point, there's probably so many of them that you could source one for a relatively fair price. So if you're in the market for a 7th generation Civic, then I say you buy with confidence. And if it's an SI, same thing. They did have a 3rd gear pop out. Again, there was a bulletin for it, and I did a couple of them, you figure 10, 12 years ago or something along those lines. So, but at this point, I think they're great cars. I love the Ford RSI, especially in a habanero red. I think that's an awesome color and very rare. And if I was to pick one up, it'd probably have to be that specific trim, just because of the exclusiveness of it. So, but again, if you're in a market for one of these Civics, I think it's a great car to own, and I've seen plenty of them in the 300,000 miles, and I think you should buy that with confidence, and hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so this is the final question of the day, and this is a kind of weird question, but at any point, do customers not trust me or mechanics in general? I'm gonna base this off of me, because obviously we're talking about me here, or accusations. Sometimes, people are funny a little bit. So if you trust your mechanic, obviously it's a two-way road. And if you trust that person, then you should definitely stay with them and get your car maintained by them. I've had a couple situations, and I'll just name a few examples, that, customers sometimes, whether they've been wrongfully done before, or maybe they're in a financial situation, they just don't want to hear what you want to tell them, because they're in a bad financial situation. But I had a customer once, and I did a time belt on his car. It was like a 98, 99 Accord, very clean. And obviously I take pride in what I do, and I try to be as professional as possible and not break any clips and put everything back in its place. So that's exactly what I did. Customer comes to pick up his car, job went great. I get called out by my service manager, and he says, well, the customer's saying that you didn't do the timing belt. And obviously my manager saw me do the job, but we had to play the game. And I said, how do you figure? And he said, well, there's nothing broken, and there's nothing that looks like you touched or anything like that. And I said, well, if you would like, next time I could leave some stuff, unclipped or broken. But I don't think you'd be happy with that. And I showed them exactly, there's little signs, the bolts, you could tell when somebody's been in there, and I kind of showed them that and put them at ease. But this person was probably screwed by somebody else in the past, probably paid somebody to do something, a job, and that didn't get done, and just assumed that, everything looked right, that maybe I was trying to take advantage of him, which wasn't the case, obviously. I also had a customer once accuse me of bending all 4 wheels on her car. She had a nasty vibration. All 4 rims were bent, and she accused me of taking a hammer to the wheels and bending all 4 wheels. And I simply told her, that's not the kind of stuff we do here, and I don't have time to be bending wheels and stuff like that. We're not gonna here to take advantage of you, but your wheels are bent, so either we get them fixed at whatever option you choose, or you got to leave at this point, because you're accusing us of something that we didn't do. And she ended up taking the car, because I think she's just in a bad spot and just didn't like our answer, and that was that. And finally, I had a customer once. He came in already, we smelled that he was going to be trouble. So he had a couple of different issues. It wasn't starting, and then ended up needing a starter. So I went ahead, recommended it. after fighting us back and forth about price and, you know, competitors being cheaper and aftermarket, whatever, I said, well, we do OEM Honda here, and you know, the advisor talked to them, and this is our price. We shaved like half an hour off just to help him out. And I go do the starter, and then his knock sensor was broken. Obviously, the car's not starting at this point, so there's no reason for us to, you know, pull any codes or anything like that. First things first, we got to get the starter sold, and we got to put the starter in it, and then, you know, go from there. If there's an issue after the car is running, then great. So, like I said, I kind of smelled that something wasn't right about this, so I took a video, and this is way before I was doing YouTube or anything like that, so it wasn't even for any content or anything like that. I took a video because I wanted to show him. I said, listen, here's the old starter. I haven't done anything yet. The manifold's out. Once I got here, your knock sensor's broken, as well as the connector. So I said, I have a connector. I'm not going to charge you anything for the connector, but obviously you got to pay for the knock sensor. If you don't do this now, then it's additional labor that you're going to have to pay afterwards. So he finally agreed to it, you know, after fighting us, and then he came back and, you know, doesn't understand why the knock sensor was broken. But some people just, again, they're in a bad financial situation. Maybe he was having a bad day or backup. I'm not sure, but people just assume that we're all out to get them, which is not the case. There's plenty of, you know, bad and dishonest mechanics out there, dishonest shops. So I get it. Some people are skeptical, but in any situation like that, I try to cover my ass and like that. Take pictures. It's 2023. There's no reason you can't have pictures, you can't have videos, you can't have documentation. A big one is also we find cash inside of glove boxes when we do cabin air filters. Immediately, I call Superior. Listen, there's this much cash in here. I took a picture of it, of the stash. I didn't count it. You want to take it, or, you know, you want to leave it here and notify the customer or whatever, but at least two people are aware of the situation at that point, and you kind of cover your back. But yeah, just goes to show you some people, you know, they just, you know, either come in with a bad taste in their mouth or having a bad day or whatever the situation may be. But yeah, there's plenty of times that stuff gets out of hand. Never too many times it gets confrontational, although once in a while the cops do get called because, you know, you can smell stuff get escalating, and before you know, obviously it gets heated with some people, and I'm not a confrontational type of person, but, you know, you have advisors, you have managers, you have, you know, a lot of people involved when you bring your car to the dealership. So again, if you trust your mechanic, whether it be a guy or girl, whatever it is, you have a good relationship with them, stay with them, and you know, just make sure you take care of them, you pay them what they're asking for, and they're gonna do what they do on their end to make sure your car is running properly. So that's gonna be it for this week's video again, guys, and I'm gonna try to do the next 2 or 3 weeks Q&As, obviously remote from here. Can't say it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna do my best. So with that being said, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next one.